What's up, bitches?
Let's talk about crime.
What's up, bitches?
Hey, bitches.
You're supposed to say hello.
Hello.
Oh, it doesn't sound like Sierra's here.
I just have a little cold. This is Sierra.
Yeah, Sierra is feeling a little under the weather. And because we like to procrastinate on literally everything, this is our recording day and her body wasn't feeling that great. And I said, get the fuck out of here because I am getting over my Disney cold and I don't really want to be sick again. And so I made her leave the house. And Jay, if you know who this person is, say hi again.
Yeah, well.
So if you know that voice, it means you listen to Fatal Blend. So this is Jay. He is my husband. And he's going to fill in for Sierra today because of that. And so Jay is leaving out of town. He's going out of the country. And so he also said, get the fuck out of my house because I'm getting ready to get on an airplane and I don't want to get sick.
I'm not trying to get sick before going on an airplane.
Correct. So this is a very special episode. It's brought to you by T&J from Fatal Blend. Basically is what we're talking about. We're not going to get into any crazy stuff because, again, last week I had made a comment about how it's just been rough. It's been really rough, and I don't really want to talk about the current world. I just don't. I know that's kind of a weird, cowardly thing to do right now, but it's just so heavy.
I mean, I don't think it's a cowardly thing to do. I think it's nice to be able to go somewhere and have a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I just kind of want to take a hot minute to step back. And I mean, yes, we still talk about our true crime and things like we do have a true crime case today, but I don't normally I'm talking about current situations, things that are going on. And there is a whole hell of a lot that we could talk about. I just don't want to. I just don't want to. This is a really crazy time. Our world is really crazy. And I'm genuinely frustrated. And so for me to be able to have a conversation about the current true crime world, I just think I would be doing you guys a disservice if I actually told you my true feelings on stuff. And I don't want to do that. So we're not going to talk about current true crimes. We're just going to get ready to talk exactly about what we came here to talk about. So, Jay, unless you have anything to say, we're going to get right into what we are talking about.
Let's get into it.
Okay. This is a good one. I'm actually bummed that Sierra is not here for this one because I specifically researched this shit for her.
You snooze, you lose.
So I hope she listens to it because I am bummed out. So what we are talking about today is August 4th, 1892. In Fall River, Massachusetts, Andrew and Abby Borden are found murdered in their home. And Lizzie Borden is arrested for this crime. Now, a little background. First off, this is a very popular topic. This is a very popular true crime. You can find all kinds of information about Lizzie Borden and the Lizzie Borden house and all this stuff. But first off, I'm just going to say there is a poem. Not really a poem. I mean, I guess it's a poem. It is a rhyme that was made after this whole thing with Lizzie Borden and her parents.
Wasn't it like roses are red, violets are blue, I'm Lizzie Borden and I killed two?
That's a good one, but no.
Oh.
This is like one that they would jump rope to.
Oh,
like
I mean,
they
you could jump rope
sing
to
it on
mine.
the playground. So I'm just going to start off with that and then we're going to get into it. So the poem goes, Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
Damn.
Now,
that is disturbing.
I'm going to right now correct something that has been a very common misconception about the Lizzie Borden case. Lizzie Borden did not take a hatchet to her mother, which by the way was actually her stepmother, 40 times, and she sure as shit did not whack her father 41 times.
No, but
that is
the
not,
song goes well with 40 and 41.
That is not what it, well, but people genuinely thought that. Like people genuinely think that she used a hatchet on her parents 40 and 41 times. That is not true. We'll get into what it really was, but that's to start off our conversation. So we're going to talk a little bit about Lizzie. We're going to talk about Andrew, Abby, all of them. So Lizzie Andrew Borden, by the way, her middle name was Andrew, which is really weird.
Yeah,
That seemed weird, right?
yeah.
Because I'm sitting there like,
It's
I don't
not
know.
expected.
It's not an expected middle name, but maybe back in the 1800s, the daughters had their father's middle
Maybe.
name. I don't know. So Lizzie Andrew Borden was born July 19th, 1860 in Fall River, Massachusetts, and she was born to Sarah Borden and Andrew Borden. And her father grew up in a very wealthy home, but it had a very modest lifestyle. So his family was very wealthy, but they didn't live like a super wealthy life. And he ends up becoming a very frugal person because of this. But he works.
And we're like the opposite. We're not very rich, but we try to live that way.
Well, you might.
Does that mean we're bougie?
Yeah. We are bougie.
We
bougie on a budget. That's what we are. We are the true meaning of bougie on a budget, because we be balling out on the vacations because we're irresponsible with our money.
But we broke.
But we broke as fuck. But that's just because we're irresponsible as hell. But anyways, you only live once, so that's just the way the life be. So yes, he actually grows up into become a very successful business person as well. He is very wealthy. He is an investor. He has a ton of money, but he lives very frugally. As your son said, that's why he's so rich, because he doesn't spend money. Could be.
Facts.
Now, at the time, just to give you a whole idea, at the time of his murder, when he was killed, his estate was worth $300,000. That is $10 million today.
I was going to say, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
back then.
so he was worth $10 million when he died. Now, Sarah Borden, Lizzie's mother, she died when Lizzie was 2 years old, about 2 years old. Now, Lizzie also has an older sister named Emma as well, and Emma is about 9 years older than her. The girls grew up in a relatively religious upbringing. They attended Central Congregational Church. Lizzie herself was involved in many different church activities, and she taught Sunday school. She was involved in multiple religious organizations, and she was involved in a lot of social movements. In particular, she was involved in the Women's Christian Temperance Union, and she was involved in Ladies Fruit and Flower Mission. So she was kind of like a socialite. The problem is, they didn't live their life like a socialite would, because their father was very strict with his money. Now, Andrew ends up remarrying, and he marries a woman named Abby. Now, when he marries Abby, this is 3 years after the death of Sarah. So it's not like Lizzie would have been about 5 years old when Abby came into her life as her stepmother. Okay, so she was raised by Abby and Andrew. She probably didn't even remember who Sarah was, because she was so little when Sarah died. And Lizzie hates her stepmother. So much so that she refused to call her mother and called her Mrs. Borden. Like, she wouldn't even call her anything other than Mrs. Like, she would address her to her face as Mrs. Borden. As Mrs. Borden. Lizzie had this belief that Abby had only married her father for his wealth, which I would totally agree with, except for they're together for a very long time. So I really don't think it was just because of his wealth, but whatever.
Playing that long game.
That really long game. Now, the Borden family also has a live-in maid, and she's 25-year-old Bridget, who had recently immigrated from Ireland. Now, Bridget stated herself that Emma and Lizzie, so the two daughters, never ate meals with Andrew or Abby, like ever. Didn't really socialize with Andrew and Abby ever. That's how much of a weird, they didn't like Abby, basically. Now, while Andrew was frugal as all hell, he this is how frugal he was. Now, again, we're talking like the late 1800s. There is indoor plumbing in homes. They do have indoor plumbing, but only the wealthy people really have it. He refuses to put indoor plumbing into their home, even though he totally could have afforded it. And he was asked by his daughters to move to an area that was more prominent and wealthy. It was like wealthy neighborhoods, and he refused. And so he would not do those kind of things. But he was willing to spend money on certain things. Like, he bought Abby's sister a home. bought Abby's sister home, which, by the way, really pissed off Lizzie and Emma. He also sent Lizzie and Emma both on extensive birthday vacations, like across the world, like 3 weeks, a month, where they would go and just like travel. And they didn't have to, their dad paid for everything. So he had certain things that he would spend. He honestly kind of sounds like me.
There's your vacations.
Because I don't spend money on items. I spend money on vacations because I like the memories with my family. But he sent them away. Like he didn't go with them. And just to be clear, I want to make this very clear. Emma and Lizzie refused to call the maid Bridget. You know, Bridget, the maid. They refused to call her by her name, Bridget. They called her Maggie. Because according to them, their old maid's name was Maggie, and it was just too hard for them to remember Bridget's name, so it was just easier to call her Maggie.
So they're mean girls.
By the way, Lizzie is 32 years old and Emma's 40.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So a 32-year-old woman and a 40-year-old woman couldn't remember Bridget's name.
Nah.
Bullshit. So this whole time, by the way, I just want to make it very clear. I knew about Lizzie Borden. I don't know why I was under the impression that Lizzie Borden was like 15. Because she was not. She was like 32 years old.
I think it's just the name Lizzie makes you think of somebody younger.
And I guess for me, I was thinking she lived with her parents. So in my mind, I did not think a 32 and 40-year-old woman are still living with their parents. But maybe that was just, they were like old maids, and I didn't put two and two together, I guess. So on August 4th, 1892, it's a typical morning. Abby and Andrew wake up. They eat breakfast. Bridget serves them. Then Andrew gets up and goes away from the table, and he gets ready and he heads into town to do some business or to like go on a walk, or just he leaves the house. And Abby then goes upstairs because even though they had Bridget as a maid, Abby did do a lot of housework. She would pride herself on taking care of her home. So Bridget would do a lot more of like cooking, and she would do laundry and things like that. But Abby would kind of tidy up the house in areas, and she would do those kind of things. So she goes up to the guest room to tidy it up because Lizzie and Emma's uncle had slept there the night before. He had showed up the day before, had dinner with Andrew and Abby. Rumors have it that Andrew and their uncle was discussing some business ventures that they were going to be getting into. He stays the night in the guest room. He gets up in the morning. He leaves. He actually ate breakfast with them. He leaves. So she goes up. She's tidying up the guest room. Prior to this specific day, the whole entire family, including Bridget, had been feeling under the weather. They had been feeling very sick. They had no energy. Their stomachs weren't feeling good. And they actually, Lizzie herself, they all thought that they were being poisoned by something that they were eating or drinking. And specifically, Lizzie had told the police when they do end up showing up to the house, she tells them that she thinks they were being poisoned by the milk that they had been drinking. Others actually ended up concluding that they think it might have been mutton stew that they had been eating that was left on the stove for like 3 days or something. They were just like eating out of the stew. Which I'm guessing that's probably it. And so they had all been not feeling very good. However, on this morning, everybody except for Bridget was pretty much feeling better, like feeling good enough that they could go out about and go do their day things. But Bridget still was not feeling so well. So Bridget ends up running into Lizzie after breakfast and stuff is over. She ends up running to Lizzie. Lizzie sees her in like the cellar of the house. And she's like, Lizzie is pulling out like an ironing board to iron her clothes. And Bridget's down there doing stuff with the laundry. She's talking to Lizzie, and Lizzie's kind of asking her, she says, Maggie, what are you doing today? And Bridget would respond, and she's like, oh, well, I still don't feel very good. I have to wash the windows because Abby asked me to wash the windows. But then I think if I have time, I'm going to take a nap because I really don't feel that good. So she said, oh, okay. If they have a little more like chit chat, they just talk to each other. Then Bridget like goes on her way. Well, as Bridget is getting ready to go upstairs, Lizzie says, oh, by the way, Maggie, Mrs. Borden has left the house. She received a letter this morning that said that one of her family members is ill. And so she's gone. Like she left, and she said, and also my father's gone, so make sure that the door is locked. Okay, so that's just what she says. Fair. I mean, that's like whatever. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably nothing
just
out
like
of the norm.
chit chat. Yeah. So Bridget ends up going out doing some stuff, and then a little while later, she ends up laying down. She goes upstairs now. Now this house is 4 levels. 4 levels. So Bridget lives in the very, very top attic level because she's the maid. So she goes up there and she decides she's going to go lay down. Now at 10:30, prior to Bridget laying down, Andrew returns home. And he cannot get in the door because he left his keys at home. And so he basically is knocking on the door. Bridget hears him. She goes over to try to unlock the door, and the lock gets jammed. She's pissed because she's trying to get the door open. And she actually says that while she was trying to get the door open for Andrew, she can hear Lizzie laughing. And she's like, but I know that Lizzie is laughing I don't know where she is per se, but I know she's not like in this vicinity of where I am. It sounded like she was upstairs laughing. And she said, I also let Andrew in, and we didn't see her, but we knew she was in the house, but we just didn't know where specifically. So then Bridget helps Andrew get it. He goes into their kind of like their living room area, and she has Andrew sit down. She takes his shoes off. She gives him his slippers, and he basically tells her, like, I'm going to take a nap. Like, I'm going to take a nap. So when he takes a nap, she's like, great, I'm going to go upstairs and take a nap too. So she leaves Andrew, goes upstairs. She gets up to her room. She lays down. And as a matter of fact, she testified that she had been feeling so not well that she didn't take any of her clothes off. She didn't take her shoes off. She just laid on the bed and actually fell asleep very quickly. This house, before we get into anything else, is the most interesting fucking house I've ever seen. I have a book that I'll show you when we're done with this podcast. I'll show you. There is floor plans of the house, and it's the most interesting house. So basically, like I said, there are 4 levels. There is a cellar, there's a main floor, a second floor, and an attic. There are no hallways in this whole entire house. So the best way I can describe it, because I didn't understand until I saw the floor plan, is like when you walk into like the second floor, which is where all the bedrooms are. So when you walk onto the second floor, you would get to the landing where the stairs are, and your choice. And
it's just doors.
Well, yes and no. There's a door that goes into Lizzie's room, but in Lizzie's room, there's a door that leads to Emma's room, and there's a door that leads to Andrew and Abby's room. But there's no hallway to get. So to get to Andrew and Abby's room, you'd either have to walk through Lizzie's room or go up the back set of stairs and walk in the door there. And then there's a guest room that you have to get to the guest room through Emma's room. Like it's like you have to walk into doorways to get into any room. So, and every floor is like that. So on the main floor, it's like you walk in the front door, you walk into the living room, but you have to go through the living room and the dining room to get to the kitchen, to get to the, whatever. So there is no, which when I read that, I was like, didn't get it. And then I saw the floor plans. I was like, oh, that's weird. Cause they had said that basically the family would just put furniture in front of the doors they didn't want opened. And I didn't understand what that meant, but now I get it. So like most likely Lizzie's bedroom, because it was like a main room that led to all the rooms, Andrew and Abby probably had furniture in front of the door that led to Lizzie's room. And they probably used the back set of stairs to get to their bedroom. It's just the most bizarre. It's the most bizarre. It's an interesting house. But you also have to remember it's 4 floors and it's built back in the day. So probably if you're in the attic, you're probably not hearing things on the main floor, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So at 11:01, so this is a half an hour after Bridget goes upstairs and lays down, Bridget hears Lizzie yelling, "Maggie, come quick. Father's dead. Somebody came in and killed him." So Andrew is found slumped over on the couch, and he had actually been struck anywhere from 10 to 11 times, not 41, with a hatchet-like weapon, and most of it was to his face.
God damn, that's brutal.
And there's pictures where they're the picture, and they're like hard to see because they're from the 1800s. But they said there's pictures of him, and he is like laid out on the couch, not really, but kind of. And they're like, we covered his face. No, you didn't. Like his face is real. You can just imagine what it looked like up close. Okay. Now, Lizzie tells Bridget when she comes down the stairs, don't come in here. I don't want you to come in here. But I need you to go across the street and get the doctor. Go get Dr. Bowen, who lived across the street. So Bridget said, yes, okay. So Bridget runs out of the house and she goes to Dr. Bowen's house across the street, which, by the way, he wasn't home in that moment. But there was a neighbor woman who was home and she came back, right? And she's talking to Lizzie and Lizzie's like, somebody came in and killed father. And she comes in and she's kind of looking. And of course, he looks like he's dead. They go and try to get the doctor again. They end up getting the doctor and somebody goes and also gets the police because obviously Dr. Bowen comes in and he immediately pronounces him dead. Okay.
Yeah.
And
like,
he's,
just by looking at him.
He's like, yeah, there's no reason that you need to call the doctor because I can't fix him. So then Lizzie is asked, well, we probably need to tell Abby. Do we know where Abby is? And Bridget was like, well, Lizzie said that she was in town, went into town to go tend to an ill family member. So I'm not sure where she is. To which then Lizzie goes, oh, no, wait. I am pretty sure that I heard Abby come home a while ago. I'm pretty sure I heard her come home a while ago. And Bridget was like, I didn't hear her come home. She goes, no,
But you're up on the top floor, Bridget. You can't hear shit.
I was in the barn. And I'm pretty sure I heard somebody go into the house and I'm pretty sure it was Abby. And so she's like, Maggie, why don't you go upstairs and see if Abby is upstairs? To which Bridget says, I'm not going up there by myself. Because Bridget's like, what the fuck? This man just got axed in the face. And you're telling me that somebody came in this house and killed him. I'm not going upstairs.
Yeah, either.
Hell no.
Like the person in the house or an intruder.
Yeah,
like, you don't know who it is. Somebody's dead.
Somebody died. And so the neighbor woman, she says, I'll go up there with you.
She's like, you bitches, I got this.
So they walk up the stairs and they actually get to the very top of the second floor landing and didn't even have to get all the way up there to see that the guest room, because you can see the guest room from the landing, they can see Abby's feet on the ground and they can tell that she's not moving. So they call for the doctor. He goes upstairs. He looks at at Abby and he's like, oh no, she's dead. Abby also looks like she had been attacked with a hatchet type weapon. And she was attacked about 18 times, not 40.
I mean, you just round up.
Now, by this time, police are there. They had been called. The police were brought to the home. And immediately, the police are suspicious of Lizzie. And it's because she not only told different stories to different people of where she was at the time, but it was also her unexpected reaction to the deaths, like almost like she didn't care. So she had told one person that during the murder time frame that she was in the barn getting lead for fishing the next day. So she was going to use lead for her fishing wire for the next day. And that's where she was. And then she found her father dead. She then tells a different person that she was in the barn when her father was attacked, but she was getting items to fix one of the windows of the house. So police are
hearing...
One of
the lead windows.
Yeah. Well, she did say she was getting lead to fix the window, but still, that she's coming up with different reasons. So, of course, the police naturally are like, okay, well, she says that, okay. So, because they ask her, like, did you hear anything? And she's like, I didn't hear anything, but I was in the barn, so I would know. Which, right away, the thing also is she said that she was in the barn and heard Abby come home. So, if she was in the barn and heard Abby come home, but she didn't hear some axe-wielding maniac in her house, that's weird. So the police decide, well, we're going to check the barn out. Let's see. Well, when they go into the barn, they realize that where the lead would be in the barn, there is this really thick layer of dust because, nobody's
touched it in a long time.
And there is no footprints. The dust had not been disturbed. So there is no way that she was in the barn doing that.
See, these cops need to connect with the cops that do our serial killer cases because I feel like they're onto something here.
So they also discover that Lizzie had said that Abby had left that morning because she had received a note. So they asked to see the note.
Where's the note?
There is no note.
Abby must have burned it and ate it.
There's no note. And no note was ever found. So immediately the police are like, oh, something is real fucking off about this whole thing. And by the way, during this whole time, Emma, Lizzie's sister, is not even in town. Like, so she can't even be a suspect because she's out of town, like not even in the same city as this area right now. Then they found it was also odd that these murders happened in the middle of the day, in broad daylight, in a home that was sitting on a relatively busy street. They said that it's really weird because obviously at this time they didn't have cars, but they did have horses and people walked places. And this was a street that people would walk to go to town and stuff. And they're like, how did somebody carry an axe into that house, kill 2 people, leave, and nobody saw them? They'd be covered with blood and everything. Nobody saw them. That just seems bizarre.
Yeah.
So that also makes them go, somebody in this house killed these people. So then they also are looking at Bridget and Lizzie at this point. But they had talked to Bridget, and Bridget's story stayed the same. Bridget had no known knowledge of where Abby would have gone other than what Lizzie had told her. Bridget said, I have not been feeling good. I literally washed the windows this morning because Abby asked me to. I went downstairs to do some laundry. I ran into Lizzie down there. We talked for a little bit. I let Mr. Borden in. I helped him get ready for his nap, and I went upstairs and laid down, and I literally crashed out until Lizzie woke me up yelling. And she never swayed from that. Whereas Lizzie's over here like, well, I was in the barn getting this, and I was this, and I heard this, and I didn't hear that, but I did do this. And there's like, you're just a little, and she's not in shock. She's not in shock.
Yeah, she's just like, it is what it is.
Yeah, she's just kind of like, well, we're here. It is what it is. You just said that. I don't know why I said that.
Because you liked it so much.
And then they also discover, after a little time, that Abby's time of death is estimated to be around 9:30 in the morning.
I was going to say, it's way earlier in the day.
And Andrew's death is estimated to be about 11 a.m. And so what they really start to get suspicious of, it's really hard to believe that some person, an intruder, came into the house, killed Abby, and then sat in the house for 90 minutes waiting to kill Andrew. And didn't kill Abby, and didn't kill Lizzie, and didn't kill Bridget. And so their whole thing is, this does not make, nobody's going to go in and hack this woman to death. And by the way, not make a sound for 90 minutes as Bridget and Lizzie are walking through the house.
I mean, it's a big 4-story house.
It is, but yet they don't have hallways. So it's all bedrooms and bedroom doors. So it's like Lizzie from her bedroom could get into any of the bedrooms. So where are you hiding in these? Like, if there's not,
second floor?
There's not. That is where that's where their rooms are.
Third floor?
The third floor. But see, Bridget was up there because that's where
she was on the 4th floor.
Well, that would be that's in my mind the third floor because I feel like the main floor. But Bridget was on the 4th floor. Okay. Abby, at any point in the time, multiple times actually, was on the 2nd floor. And if you really, or on the 3rd floor, but if you really think and remember when Andrew came home, they're pretty sure she was upstairs on that 2nd floor, on that 3rd floor. So she was up there. Then the main floor, Andrew's on the main floor. And then the cellar, they were in the cellar earlier that day. So you're not going to tell me that somebody came in and fucking hid in the house. It's not like they had secret passageways. Okay.
It's the person she was laughing with.
No, I think she's psychotic personally. I think she stood at the top of the stairs laughing because she's staring at Abby's dead body as her dad comes home. Like, that's my personal opinion. But anyways, so they're kind of like nothing makes sense. There also was no sign of forced entry in the home either. So they're like, okay, so this obviously was somebody who knew the perpetrators. They also found out that Lizzie had tried to buy Persic acid the day before the murder from a drugstore, and they refused to sell it to her because she needed a prescription for it. And they asked her what she needed it for, and she said she was trying to kill the rats in her barn. So there was just a lot of things that led to, like, maybe she would want her family or her parents dead. Now, what ends up happening is they have all these things. Okay, they have all these ideas, and they don't arrest her at first. And finally, a police officer basically says, okay, so we have a girl, a 32-year-old woman who claims to have heard her mother come home but didn't hear an intruder, who claims that she went into a barn but there's no sign of her being in the barn, who claimed that her mother had gone into town, and there's no, nothing that says that. This was not somebody who entered the home unwillingly. They also said that they believe that Andrew had been killed while he was asleep based on the fact that his eyes and stuff. And there was no defensive wounds on him.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably no defensive wounds. Just took a whack to the face.
But they also said that the way that Abby was killed was she would have been facing her attacker, and again had no defensive wounds. And so they're like, that if it was some dude that comes in the house, she's gonna have defensive wounds. But if it's somebody she knows, right? So they're going through all this stuff, and the guy says, if Lizzie were a man, she'd already be arrested. She'd be arrested. And so they finally were like, okay, we should probably arrest her because she is the best suspect for this. And the reason we haven't arrested her yet is because she's a woman, basically. So on August 11th, so this is 7 days later, so a week later, 1892, Lizzie is arrested for the murder of Andrew and Abby. However, after she's arrested, her sister Emma and the doctor, Dr. Bowen, both were adamant that there's no way she did this. She was kept in jail until her trial, and which was like 9 months. And let me tell you, there were so many people opposed to her even being in jail. And of course, part of it is people that she worked with, like the women, people who were for women's rights and stuff. They were literally like, she is a woman. She does not belong in jail. Here's the other thing.
I feel like the mom on Mary Poppins would have been down there. Like,
yeah, that's what
out.
I meant. Sister suffragette. That's what I totally thought of that. And they said she didn't even get to stay in jail in Fall River because Fall River did not have a jail for women, because the last time that Fall River had jailed a woman was like 1770 something.
And they burned her.
You
at the
know
stake.
it was witches.
Right?
For sure. You know it was witches just because it's Massachusetts, first of all. But so they didn't even have a facility for her. So they had to move her to a different city for her to even be in jail. And again, people were 100% like, no, there's no way she did it. She teaches for Sunday school. She's all part of all this stuff. There's no way she could, like, that was it. So 5 days before her trial begins, there actually ends up being another murder by hatchet in another home. However, the man that they found to hold this responsible was this man who came from another country. And he had only been he was not in the country when the Bordens were murdered, because they originally were like, well, obviously it was him. And that guy, what he did do is he went to this house. He sat in this house with his hatchet waiting for the man that he wanted to kill to come home. Well, the man didn't come home for a very long time, but his wife did. And so he killed his wife and sat there and waited for like half an hour, 45 minutes. And when the guy didn't show up, he just left. And so they did say, like, well, how do you know that's not what happened with the Borden family? Because that's like almost identical. Same type of weapon, same scenario, kill the woman, wait for the husband. How come that's not it? And they said, hell yeah, this could be our guy. Well, when they looked into it, they were like, okay, well, there's no way, because he was a Portuguese man. And they were like, he wasn't even in the United States until like 2 months prior to this. So they were like, he was not even around. So it could not have been him. But it opened up for her defense to be like, but it could have been somebody else. It could have been a different immigrant. So that was
all you got to do is
it was
put
a
in
different one that could have done it.
What is it, like a reasonable doubt?
Yeah. So that happens. And they actually even say, oh, are you going to try to tell us that Lizzie Borden's responsible for this one too? Is she sitting in jail? And they're just like, no, obviously not. Which, like you said, it leads to doubts now. Now people are like, oh, but maybe she didn't do it. Maybe it was just like some person that did this. They do discover that Emma and Lizzie stood to inherit all of their father's wealth after he died. So because this happened, and again, it took 9 months for her to go to trial, Emma used this money to buy her the best defense attorney money could buy. Like, I don't know what the equivalent for today is, but it was like $25,000 they spent in that time. And you figure they were only worth $300,000. So that's a big chunk.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, because she was so adamant
and that defense attorney's like, cha-ching.
I know. Now, during her trial, it is stated that, one, they don't have a murder weapon. So they don't even know what killed these people. And they had found several hatchets and axes in the home, but none of them had blood on them. And so they were like, okay, well, none of these. They did find a hatchet handle without the hatchet head. And there was there was a disagreement. Some of the police officers said that they had found blood on the handle and some said they did not. So therefore, again, just becomes like There also were no bloody clothes at the scene. And the doctor himself testified that if Lizzie would have killed her father, just her father alone, she would have been covered in blood. And he said she was not covered in blood. Now, Lizzie did end up having one spot of blood on her shoes, and she had one speck of blood on her dress. Now, her explanation for this blood, TMI, everybody, earmuffs if you don't want to hear it. Back in the day, in the 1800s, you did not talk about women's menstrual cycles. So she said, that is because of my menstrual cycle. And they immediately were like, cool, done. All right.
Shut it down.
And they also reported finding a bucket in the cellar that had bloody cloths in it. And she had told the judge, that's from my menstrual cycle. And he said, done. They didn't question it. They didn't check it. They didn't look into it because it was not something you talked about. So nobody will ever know what the real story is with that. But then there was a theory that when you look at the crime scene, Mr. Borden had a jacket, like a long overcoat that Bridget had taken from him, when she was helping him get ready for his nap. And the thing is, in the crime scene, the jacket is folded up kind of on the back of the couch, covered in blood. Okay. So he's like laying on the back of the couch, almost like he was going to use it as a pillow.
Yeah.
However, everybody who knew Mr. Borden said there's no way in hell he would have ever folded a jacket and laid on it as a pillow because of how frugal and expensive his shit was and how frugal he was. He had a specific place that he always hung his jacket, on a chair. And so the theory is that Lizzie Borden took that jacket and wore it to kill her father and then folded it up and put it over by the crime scene. That's a very viable thought. There has been some other theories that she may have killed her stepmother naked because there is nothing there. Well, they didn't find anything with blood, but Lizzie's best friend testified in court that she came over one day and found Lizzie burning a dress on the kitchen stove on August 8th of 1892. So 4 days after the murder.
Why would you need to burn your dress?
Oh, because as Lizzie said, this dress is ruined. It's got ruined by wet paint. So she burned it.
Red, wet
And
paint.
the thing that's weird about that is because the family was so frugal, it was known that when one of their pieces of clothing got destroyed or ruined, they cut it up and used it as cleaning rags. So there's no way that she should have been burning that. Her father would have had a fucking fit had he known that she was going to burn that. Now on June 20th of 1893, the jury goes to deliberate. So they go through this whole trial. They go to deliberate. Now, before they go, the judge says, hear me clearly. You will not find her guilty unless you are 100% certain that she did this. If there is any inkling of a doubt that she did not do this, you must not find her guilty because she's a woman. Go deliberate. So it took them an hour and a half and they came back with a not guilty verdict. By the way, Lizzie Borden is compared to O.J. Simpson trials. She goes down, her trial goes down as one of those what the fuck? So she is found not guilty. Now, even though Lizzie Borden was acquitted, she is still to this day the main suspect in the murder of her parents. After the trial was over, the Borden sisters moved into a new home on the hill, which is where all the rich people lived, the place that Lizzie really wanted to live all the time.
One that had sewage.
Had indoor plumbing. I don't know if they had electricity at that time, but I think they did. I think they had both. But they lived also, it was a very prominent area. You didn't live there unless you were rich, which is where she had been asking her father to move over the years. Lizzie also began to go by the name Elizabeth, not Lizzie. And they had live-in maids. They had a housekeeper, a coachman, right? They had all these things. So they went from being super frugal to spending all the money. And it was found out that because Abby had died before Andrew, his estate was given to his daughters. Now, had Abby been deemed dead after Andrew, Andrew's estate would have gone to Abby's family. Because it would have gone to Abby, but then she died, then it would have gone to her family. And her family, Abby's family, like took them to court and was like, hold the fuck on. Like, and they did get a settlement of they did get some money from Andrew's estate. But yeah, so the other part of this whole thing was that shit was calculated as hell.
Hell yeah.
Whoever killed them knew that she needed to be dead. And she needed to be dead quite a time before, because that in the 1800s, they couldn't specifically say, but they could say within certainty when somebody had died before, because their big thing was Abby's blood was dried.
Congealed.
Like coagulated and dried. Whereas Andrew's blood was still dripping. So they could tell that one had been killed before the other. Had they not been able to specify that would have been a problem for them. Now in 1905, Emma and Lizzie have a falling out. And Emma moves away and she never talks to her sister again. Never.
Because she told her.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, they had a fight and she said, I killed them, okay? And she said, get the fuck out of here. So she moved out. She got her own house and moved away. And then on June 1st, 1927, Lizzie died of pneumonia at the age of 66. She was buried with her sister, her mother, and her father in their own like family burial plot. At the time of Lizzie's death, she was worth $6,073,000. So she was living her damned old life.
Yeah.
Now, she left her money because she was a spinster. So she didn't have children. She didn't have any family, literally no family. So she left she had family, but not immediate family. She left her money to a couple of family and friends that she had, but most of her money, most of her fucking $6 million was left to Fall River Animal Rescue League.
Yay.
I can't hate her. I can't hate her because she helped animals a lot. That was one of her big things that she did, is she actually worked with saving animals. I'm like, listen, you might be a shitty person for killing your dad, but like, you know.
But again, like, we don't know if she actually killed her parents.
So the thing is, I 100% believe she killed her parents. I also want to reiterate to people, and I want people to understand that it is very possible for somebody to kill like their mom and dad and never kill anybody again. There is a big difference between domestic violence and domestic homicide versus somebody who kills because of whatever other reasons. She wasn't killing people because she wanted to be a murderer. She was killing her father and her mother because she wanted the fucking money. I think she hated, what I honestly think happened is I think she hated her stepmom. I think she saw an opportunity. She killed her stepmom. And I do think that after she killed her stepmom, I think she was like, fuck, what do I do? And so she killed her dad. And then now, very much so. Now there is a theory in one of the books that I read. It's a book about cold cases, and it's actually written by John Douglas. So for those of you who don't know who John Douglas is, he's actually one of the FBI profilers that inspired Mindhunters. Okay, so he actually does cold cases and he profiles what he thinks happened. And he also thinks Lizzie Borden was very much so responsible. However, he also says that based off of all the information he has collected, he actually thinks there might have been an abusive situation going on, sexual abuse from her father to her. And he said because of the things that she said, the way that things were, is very reminiscent of how people who are abused by their parents react. And so you'll never know, but there is that part too, where you never know really what happened. But he does believe that she absolutely is responsible. Now, currently, as it sits today, the original house is still standing, and it's actually somewhere you can visit, and it's a bed and breakfast, so you can go stay there if you want to. Now, thank you. This is the actual home. Like, they didn't tear it down and rebuild it. It is the actual home that Abby and Andrew were killed in. You can tour the home, and for extra money, you can go tour the basement. They have house tours, so it just takes you like around the house. They have ghost tours, so they take you to the highly haunted areas, or they have ghost hunts that you can do, so you go and look for ghosts, which, no thank you. The home is decorated just like it would be in the late 1800s, so when you go there, whether you're visiting to tour, just check it out, or stay the night, it's decorated like replica of what the house was back then. But like I said, if you're feeling really daring, you can absolutely book a room there. And yes, you can even stay in the room that Abby was killed in.
Pass.
Our son said he would.
Of course he would.
He said, I'll do it. Now, there have been multiple people who have stayed and toured and have experienced hauntings. Now, I'm not going to go through all those hauntings because this podcast is way too long for that. However, there is a website, their actual website, which is the official Lizzie Borden House website. If you go to that website and you click on their information or haunting, they have a section that tells hauntings, and it's people who have either video of hauntings or other, whatever. They share their experiences. They are truly fucking creepy, like to the point that I didn't want to even look at them. My son looked at them because I told him about it, and I said, you need to look at this, and he was willing to look at them. But I will tell you one thing that really creeped me out on this. In one of them, because they've had a lot of ghost hunters go there, and one of them was a guy who carried the thing, the electric thing that tells you if there's hauntings or whatever. So he brought that with him, and there's a picture of Lizzie Borden in the home. So he takes a picture of that picture. Now in that picture, in the reflection, you can actually see him. He's wearing like a red shirt, and you can see that. And he said that after he took the picture, his little, whatever that thing is called, electric graph thingy, started spiking like crazy. And when he looked at the picture, so in the pictures on the website, you see him, you kind of see a reflection of him, and in the bottom corner, you see a fucking woman's face. A fucking woman's face. And it's like, no. And there's people who have reported this shit. There's people who have reported feeling like they've been being burned. So I feel like there is like evil in this house. I'm not going. So I will put the website in the show notes. It's going to be the first link. There's going to be a link in the website, in the show notes, and it's going to take you straight to the Lizzie Borden house. You can absolutely check it out. And when you're on there, like I said, you can look at people's hauntings or people's reported hauntings that they had. You can book a room. You can just go check it out. You can walk by the house, whatever you want to do. So that leaves me with this question. Do you think Lizzie Borden killed her parents? And would you go tour or stay at the Lizzie Borden house?
Well, for me, I'm on the fence. Maybe she was possessed by one of these demons.
Those demons weren't there until she killed her family.
You don't know that.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I
Were
do.
you there?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. No, she could have been possessed, and that's what made her do it. And then when they moved out of the house, she was like, I'm not possessed anymore. So who knows? And no, I would not stay in it.
Really? That shocks me that you would not.
I wouldn't stay in it just because the beds probably aren't comfortable if it's
Oh,
the
but they
1800s.
are. Oh my God. I can't even believe you brought that up. It on there, I swear to shit, I shit you not. On their website, their beds are supposedly so comfortable. They call them ghost beds or something. There's a link to buy them on their website because people love their beds so much. So if that's your only reason, the beds apparently are fucking great. I will not be going there. You and your son can have a whole ghost trip if you want to, but I am too fucking scared of getting like haunted by some weird ass ghost. So no thank you. No thank you at all.
Just as long as they don't turn off my CPAP in the middle of the night.
They probably would. What is this
They'd be pinching the hose.
So my personal opinion is, yes, I think Lizzie Borden did it. And no, I would not stay the night there. And honestly, I don't even know if I'd be ballsy enough to tour the house.
Well, you walked that one house with that lady.
The Winchester Mystery House. But that one wasn't nearly as haunted as fucking this one. So I don't know, but it would be it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. So that is it. That is the story of Lizzie Borden. And the reason I'm pissed that Sierra's not here for this is because the whole reason I did this is because last week we talked about the Queen Mary and I said something about Lizzie Borden. She goes, I don't even fucking know who that is. And I said, what the hell is wrong with you? So I specifically did this episode for Sierra and now her ass isn't even here. So I'm going to...
Maybe she's possessed and that's why she doesn't feel good.
She got possessed by us talking about the Queen Mary last week. Oh my God. So if you like the things that you hear, I know we're talking about paranormal, but this time I thought it was good because it was a true crime / paranormal / unsolved. It was literally everything we're doing in one episode. which is good, I feel like.
Yeah.
So if you like these kind of things and you like listening to my voice and not really Jay's voice because he's not normally here, it's normally Sierra.
But if you want to hear my voice
Listen
and
to
you
us,
haven't,
check
come
out
check
Fatal
us out
Blend.
on Fatal Blend.
Yes, we do Fatal Blend, which is a podcast specifically about serial killers. So if serial killers are your jam, like they are mine, check us out. Check out Fatal Blend. We're on the same Podbean or whatever you're listening to us on. We are also there on Fatal Blend. Fatal, Fatal, Blend, Blend. But yes, so thank you very much for listening. Thank you so much for joining and following and all the things that we talk about every single week. And I think at this point, I'm just going to say thanks so much for listening to the story about Lizzie Borden, who killed her parents. Until next week, catch you on the flip side, bitches.
Bye, bitches.